But let's shift gears into the second win. And we'll definitely start off with you, Steve, since you talked about beating Ohio State twice. This was a bigger victory. This was a titanic victory. And let me set the stage right, because we've talked for a year about, hey, Michigan should be able on an annual basis to command the attention of the top running back prospects in the country. And they should be able to on an annual basis, top 100 4 or 5 star guy, they should be able to get at least one of those per cycle with the way that they run the football, right? We were very, very clear about that. Saying that that is the challenge for them as a recruiting staff, and for Mike Hart in particular as the position coach. He got Cole Cabana last year from here in state as a rising guy, wound up being one of the higher rated guys in the class. But could you box with an Ohio State, for instance? And Steve, he boxed with Ohio State and he knocked them out.
Yeah, so I didn't realize this till yet. Ohio State didn't sign a running back last cycle. They lost Mark Fletcher to Miami. So not only they beat Ohio State head-to-head, not only they beat them at running back, we're also, like I know they didn't sign one last year, but it's a spot Ohio State's always recruited at an elite level, but they beat them at a position of need. Really a grand slam. Again, what I said yesterday from both a player standpoint and how good Jordan Marshall is, but even maybe more so, at least today, from a perception standpoint, right? Because you went toe-to-toe with Ohio State. I think Tennessee, Wisconsin were his top four, but this was Michigan or Ohio State pretty much the whole way, I feel like. And the Mike Hart stuff, I don't know. I think that really comes down to people question. I think it came down to people questioning the Benjamin Hall deal more than anything, because honestly, Mike's always wrapped up his guys pretty early and not had to go down to the wire for a big name type. Cole Cabana was a pretty easy recruiting win for them. They got Benjamin Hall. So it's kind of a weird, misguided situation in a lot of instances, as far as I think, and then also I think people think Mike Hart. They think of the guy who wore Michigan on his sleeve. Very outspoken guy. I think people must have thought he was going to be involved in like every recruitment for Michigan, like ever. Just because it was Mike Hart. We know how much Mike, how he was always very upfront about his love for the university and stuff as a player. It's not how it works in college recruiting, right? And so I mean that's just a huge win though. And again, Tony Alford, one of Ohio State's best recruiters, one of the best recruiters in the country. So just from top to bottom, this was a huge win for Michigan. I think the other thing too, somebody asked this on the board yesterday, not going to impact the Taylor Tatum recruitment at all. And honestly, in my opinion, I think it's better for Michigan that Marshall's the first guy on board than vice versa, because I think Tatum's interest in Michigan independently is massive. Could have seen if by chance, which I don't know what his timeline is, but if Tatum had gotten on board first, I could maybe foresee a situation where that would have steered Marshall stronger towards Ohio State. But now I think I think he'll be maybe one of their biggest assets in helping go further with Taylor Tatum. So, again, just cannot understate how big of a win this is for Michigan on the recruiting trail.
Almost a year in the making, this recruitment has been, where, what was it, April, where he had Jordan Marshall on campus. And from that point on, you could really see the relationship get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yeah, and I think too, Jordan, one of the biggest things he's echoed throughout his recruitment when it came to Michigan was he related to Mike Hart on a personal level and with Mike Hart's family as well. He always talked about his family and getting to know the family as well as Mike, and just really bonding, really gelling with him and feeling a sense of home there. And it's ironic because, I mean, his parents grew up Ohio State fans. He was slated to go to Ohio State this upcoming week. Ohio State was supposed to get the last visit, Sam. I mean, this was all packaged and everything for Ohio State. It's a guy right in their backyard, a top target. They need a elite running back this cycle, and he picks Michigan. I think everything, though, with Mike Hart, Steve Clinkscale, And also the running back depth chart. I mean, that's an easy sell that maybe Ohio State cannot sell. That's the other thing I think in Michigan's favor that might have been overlooked. And a reason why they're still very much in the mix for Taylor Tatum, a top 100 running back, is because you're for sure going to lose Blake Corum. Probably not 100%, but most likely you're going to lose Donovan Edwards. You don't know who's in the back. Leo Mullings, a couple young guys, but no one proven. And at that point, you want some workhorse backs. And Michigan's shown that they're not afraid to run several guys throughout the season, because if guys get dinged, if guys get nicked up, you're going to need more backs in the stable. And so this is a guy that can do everything you need. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year as a junior in the state of Ohio, which is impressive. And he had all the offers. This is a huge win. This is a statement win. And this shows that Michigan is now a real player in the state of Ohio. And Ohio State cannot just show up last minute, the 11th hour, and expect they can offer a kid and he's going to come running to them. That's not happening anymore. So that's what really struck me, that he basically said, I don't need to visit Ohio State. I already know where I want to go. And that was the most surprising news. Not even that he committed, but that's when he did it and how he did it.
Check this out. So in the aftermath of it, I heard that Mike had actually encouraged him to visit Ohio State. Like, go visit Ohio State. And the kid was like, no, I don't need to. I'm coming to Michigan. So I don't know. Listen, man, I think that this is very clearly a point in this Michigan sort of Ohio recruitment, or Michigan recruiting in Ohio, where this might be the time where they're finally pressing Ohio State in a way that makes them be more on guard, that makes them not be able to chalk up the top players in the state, your Bryce West, your Aaron Scotts, that they're definitely coming to Ohio State. They're going to have to work harder for those guys. Michigan is legitimately in the mix for both of those players, and Jordan Marshall is a signal. That's a signal that this is the first player since Nolan Rumler that Michigan got out of the state of Ohio that had an offer from Ohio State. And Nolan Rumler had been the only player in 10 years with that distinction. Now, that doesn't mean that Michigan hadn't gotten other good players from Ohio. They just didn't have Ohio State offers. And that doesn't mean that Michigan hadn't beaten Ohio State for other prospects. They had outside of Ohio. This is very significant in the trajectory of Michigan recruiting that state. We've had several podcasts over the years kind of talking about the role that Ohio players have played in Michigan's success historically. So this is why the win is magnified. Mike Hart went into Ohio State, or went in the state of Ohio, beat Ohio State for a guy. It is a top running back, and it is the highest ranked prospect in his career. Just checked a lot of boxes there, guys. But it wasn't over. And speaking of Ohio, Brice, they landed another prospect out of the state of Ohio here this week.
Yeah, and a school that might be familiar to Michigan fans, St. Edwards and Lakewood, Ohio, Ben Roebuck. I mean, when you talk about big dude, Sam, he's the definition of ginormous. 6'7", 325 pounds, just a pure road grader, physical, tough, mean, has a nasty streak. He's been part of the St. Ed's team that won the state championship this past year. Impressive offensive line. I mean, the Armstrong twins are on the same offensive line. They both have Michigan offers as well. I think they're leaning more towards Ohio State. That's my opinion right now. I know Penn State's in that recruitment. But going back to Ben, this is a guy that Michigan had been trending up for a long time. I mean, for months, he had been telling me that Michigan led in that recruitment because of Sharon Moore and also Steve Klinkscale. But the other guy that's been a really strong advocate for Michigan on the recruiting trail has been Luke Hamilton. Luke Hamilton, a fellow offensive lineman in the state of Ohio, has done a fabulous job connecting with these guys and telling them, hey, you need to take a look at Michigan. Not only take a look at Michigan, but really consider them. He's been in the air of all these guys, especially Ben. And the thing with Ben that Ohio State fans are going to chalk up is he didn't have an Ohio State offer. But when you watch him play, he fits the mold of what Michigan likes to do up front. Bully ball. That's what he does. That is what he does. He's probably gonna be a tackle. Maybe he could slide inside. I doubt it. I'm thinking probably right tackle to begin with. But he fits everything that Sharon Moore loves to do, smash mouth football. And that's what Michigan does. And the other thing, when I talked to him, he said, why would I want to go to Michigan when they just won the Joe Moore Award 2 years in a row, too? So there's a lot going in Michigan's favor. And this is another win for Michigan, the state of Ohio, regardless of if he had Ohio State offer or not. He had offers from Wisconsin, Penn State, several other schools, over 20 offers. This is a huge win. And this is another sign that Michigan isn't going anywhere in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, man. It's I guess I sort of chuckle at Ohio State fans, pundits kind of say, well, he didn't have an Ohio State offer, which he didn't, but it's an offensive lineman. Like, why if Michigan, to your point, who won the Joe Moore Award 2 years in a row, why would they care what Ohio State thought about their O-line evals, right? I just same thing when we were talking. Remember Cam Calhoun? We had that conversation. The Michigan gets Cam Calhoun, and you immediately hear Ohio State folks say, "Oh, well, he didn't have a Michigan offer." And I'm thinking to myself, well, so I mean, whose DB evals would you take based on the results here?
Yeah.
Of late. So it's one of those things where, just to emphasize the point, having an Ohio State offer isn't the be all end all as far as whether or not the kid is good, the prospect is good. It's just noteworthy with Marshall because it does signal maybe a different time, a different tone in Michigan's presence in Ohio. It just, they had made some strides when Al was here. He only had Eric All to show for it, but he was right there with Zach. You guys remember? He was right there with Zach Harrison, right there. I mean, think about being there with Zach Harrison. I remember it. The word being that Zach Harrison's mom didn't really like Al that much at the time. He overcame that because he had such a great relationship with the kid. He had come up so many times. He was really vibing, really kind of seeing it happen. And then Michigan got beat on. I mean, they didn't just get beat; they got beat down on the field. And it's like, I can't go to Michigan and get beat. Now, eventually he did go to Ohio State. It got beat by Michigan, but you get the point. Now Michigan has Ohio ties, Ohio emphasis, and they're beating Ohio too. You add those things together, and it just really feels like of the tide as far as Michigan's ability to recruit that state.